Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new edition. Season 2 has started. We have the pleasure and honor to have Aadilah Soobratty with us. She's going to introduce a topic around freelance copywriter and content strategies. She's a lover of words, avid reader, and knowledge seeker. So over to you, Aadilah. Please do share a bit of your introduction and let's start the topic.
Hi, thank you for having me today. So I'm a freelance copywriter. I have about 5, 6 years experience working in advertising agencies, communication agencies, and I've been freelancing for 2.5 years now. So I work as a copywriter. I do a lot of SEO copywriting, a lot of some social media copywriting, and then I'm also a content strategist. So everything that comes before the actual copywriting. So everything that's like, why are we writing this? Who are we writing to? This kind of thing. That's also what I do as part of my job.
That's really nice. Yeah, that's really nice. So let's talk about your journey towards freelance copywriter or content strategist. How did you dwell in this new world? If we take it, let's say 10 years, 5 years back, if someone would have come and say copywriter, I don't know if you remember that when we go to school, you go to the library, you have your small copybook with you and you keep writing. But now the world has evolved, right? You've mentioned SEO, being a content writer for SEO. There's lots of things you've been seeing, I think, for the years you've moved to freelance. So if you can just start that journey with you, how did you dwell in this world?
Freelancing is very different from working within an agency. You do everything by yourself. You go look for your own clients, and the thing is, it puts to the test your own marketing abilities because you're trying to do marketing for other people, but you have to be able to do it for you first, so you can get those clients. So it's quite something, especially if you're within an agency. You have people to tell you, oh, there's this new trend coming up, or things are changing. You should probably get started in that direction. But when you're a freelancer, you do it all by yourself. You have to be proactive all the way through. So it's difficult in that sense, but it's very rewarding as well because everything you do for yourself and by yourself. So at the end of the day, you only I would say you only have yourself to thank, but that you did it.
That's really nice. But can you talk a bit about the work around copywriter, content strategy, your day-to-day, what it is about? Let's say tomorrow I'm a new person in the world of IT and I want to learn what's copywriter, what it is about.
So copywriting basically is marketing in the written form.
So Aadilah, so what's your let's say your day-to-day during?
So day-to-day basis, I have, well, it depends on the clients, but you've got article writing. So article writing, you have to come up with topics, and you don't come up with topics randomly. You have to come up with topics according to what your target audience wants, what's trending at the moment. So just that choice of topic requires a lot of research and understanding of marketing objectives and what your specific brand is trying to do. So there's some SEO content writing. So then you write the content, and it takes a long time, and then you kind of optimize afterwards or during. Depends on the person. For SEO, of course, requires keeping in touch with whatever's going on at the moment with Google mostly, because they've got algorithm changes a lot of the time, and sometimes they backtrack on changes, so you really have to be up to date with that. And then in a typical day, I might also work on some social media posts. That if it's a new client, then you have to do everything in terms of the strategy. Sorry. So basically, it's a blank slate a lot of the time. with clients who just started out, brands have just started out. It's a blank slate a lot of the time. So you have to help them define what their target audience is like. You have to help them basically establish what it is they want to do, what their marketing objectives are, what their marketing goals are, what you can do to help them realistically. And then afterwards, it's social media planning. So post, you work with graphic designers sometimes, and then with social media managers as well, because that's a specific part of marketing. I think a lot of people go very think that copywriters do social media marketing as well, but it's not necessarily the case. Uh, so yeah, that's about a typical day. Sometimes you'll get some requests for content that's not meant for a digital audience as well. More
Okay,
traditional copywriting.
that's really nice. But just one thing, how do you become a copywriter? What is the path? What do you need to do? Do you need to you need to do a degree in IT? Do you need to do a degree in marketing? What do you do to be?
I think there's a traditional path to copywriting, and then there's a more, I don't know if you call it a more modern path to copywriting. The more traditional path would be a little bit more like what I did. So I studied journalism with a minor in digital media, and then I started working in digital marketing company. I learned from there, but you already have the base covered because you study journalism and you know how to write basically. And then you go into those agencies and then you learn what actual copywriting is, as opposed, because it's not the same thing as journalistic writing at all. There's a more of an element of persuasion that's going on within copywriting, and then you keep going until you end up like me as a freelancer. Or there's the more modern kind of way of being a copywriter, which I've seen some people do now. So basically, some people will not have any past experience or past education that's based around marketing or related subjects. It's just they'll take some courses, they'll kind of learn by themselves. Some people do it pretty well, but I think there's this notion that marketing is easy. And that everyone can be a marketer or everyone can be a copywriter by following a course for 2 weeks, and you have these things online where it's like, become a copywriter overnight and make I don't know, $15,000 a month with just this simple tip or by buying my course. So, each to their own, but I'm not saying you can't be a good copywriter or a good marketer by following these, but it does take time and it does take experience.
I think that's a very good. Anything around work today is experience and exposure. It's not just in copywriting, in development, in software delivery, in networking, in law, being a doctor. Imagine yourself being sick and you go to a doctor, you tend to say, he or she has just become a doctor, so I'll take some time before I go to him. That's human mind. I have one last question on my side, and I think that's a big one. We know we have that fear. AI is
Yeah.
replacing everybody, right? So, how do you feel about that? Generative AI is replacing everybody. So, how you, as a content writer, content strategist, how do you feel about that?
You know what? The first time it started coming around, it was very scary because first you see, because it's literally happening in front of your eyes. It's just this whole bit of text that would take you a whole day to write is just coming out of this AI, and you're like, I guess I'm changing jobs. And then it's you go into it and you read what's actually coming out of it, and you're like, you know what, I do write better than this. But it's, to be very honest, I've thought about it a lot because right now AI is not. I don't think that the content that it writes is equivalent to the quality that a good copywriter can give. But that's the thing with technologies. With time, they do get better. So as a copywriter, you have to be better than the machine, which is a very interesting, I don't know, philosophical question. How can you be better than a machine? But so I don't know. At some point, I've started to focus on areas of copywriting which AI can't possibly touch as much. So everything that's very human centric, and AI will not be able to do everything that's truly creative. So, because there's a branch of copywriting that's creative copywriting. So AI is not, it will not be able to. That's the one thing I can say with certainty. I don't know how far the technology would evolve. It probably will evolve in ways that we can't, and at some point, it's going to create very human-like content. But I don't think that you can emulate the human spirit in that sense. So everything that AI can't touch, I'm just be like, you know what, I'm going to specialize in that. I'm going to get better at that. And then at some point, it's not viewing AI as an enemy as well, and be like, oh, you know what, I actually use AI as a copywriter to get a quick grasp of certain things, for example, to see what an overview of, okay, what are the points that I could use for this? It's like a support sometimes. So it's useful. It really is. You just have to know how to use it and to what extent, and at the same time grow your own skills in a way that kind of future proofs you to an extent. And then if at some point anyway I'm made redundant, well, I'll find something else to do.
I think you've touched something very special. I was recently in a conference whereby we're talking about AI a lot, AI replacing developers, replacing everybody, right? But there was a point, and they kind of sum it this way, and it was very simplistic. It's like you can't create emotion, can simulate emotion, right? But at a particular point, when we look at it, yes, it's not your enemy. You use it instead of being. You might be more productive of leveraging on them, but if we want to beat the system, like we always say, it's just to add a bit of that human touch, that bit of emotion, that bit of like client target, those kind of things, especially today. I'm not a marketer, definitely. I'm not in the field of marketing, but when I've heard lots and I've worked with a lot of very good people in that particular field, there has one kind of skill set I can say that none other, I would say, in the IT world has a lot, is that touch of human, that touch, understand your client, know your client, add value to your client, get to that. That's very hard to build. I tried lots of time. That tips, you just said a course that you can learn for 1 day, and you can make 500 USD a month. It's very tempting, but in reality, everything has a limit. And I sincerely believe, even in the field of copywriting, content writing, it's that part whereby emotion, that part whereby productivity today is kind of being a big enabler, but it's not a risk. It's not kind of the end of the world. It's not yet, how do you say, Terminator, or no kind of guy coming to you, but we are not there yet, but it's going to happen definitely at a particular point whereby it will increase. But we, as human, as employees, as in any field, we need just to adapt. So, Aadilah, any question on your side?
Yes, for me, yeah, I have a story, maybe a funny one to share. Then one small question for you, Aadilah. So the story is like I've been writing technical articles on my blog for the past like 10 years, maybe more. And at some point, what I realized was that it was in 2019 or 18, or even more recent, that nobody was reading my articles, and that was a shame. So I started learning copywriting little by little, and like most famous authors, and actually their work are considered scammy. So, for example, you write a clickbait title, 10 ways to do this, this will change your life, and then you write the hook, or you mesh it with the hook, the proper hook. You won't believe what this person did. And I've read books on that. I can right now tell you 10 of the most popular hooks. For example, why is nobody talking about this? You add the day, why is nobody talking about this in 2024? And I can tell you the difference is enormous. Maybe this is a secret I can't share right now. But like when I started using hooks, people like my traffic double, triple, or even quadruple, like immediately. And even on LinkedIn, like I was at some point, some people considered me an influencer just because I knew how to use the hooks. Well, it was trial and error, to be honest, but reading is very important. So yeah, the hook, storytelling, you play with the conclusion, like instead of putting it at the end, you can put it at first. So yeah, I am a developer, like senior developer, lead, and things like that. But I'm passionate, and I consider myself a part-time beast, copywriter or marketer. And actually, it's not very recent. And a recent interest. I started. I was a sales guy before I joined university. That's why you see me like always. I'm full of energy, like a very outgoing extrovert. But I was in sales, and since then I've developed an interest. But sales in Mauritius, well, I won't say generally, but at the low level it doesn't pay well, but at the high level it pays really well. But yeah, let's go into the question, which I think is relevant to any professional and freelancer as well. Is copywriting is a creative right hemisphere or right part of the brain, while communication I think is or left part. Correct me if I'm wrong, or it's the opposite. But let's say you're in deep work, you're creating your content, you're writing your articles and putting the persuasions, the different selling points. But then at the same time, you need to communicate with your clients, and it will put you out from the zone. And sometimes you want to over communicate because to reassure that maybe it's taking more time. So how do you deal with this shift in like context switching?
I think in that case, there's the real, I won't say issue, but the heart of the matter is that you have two different purposes. On one hand, you want to inform, on the other hand, you want to persuade the person. Sometimes you're able to do both at the same time. And it doesn't require, I mean, I think it does require some finesse in terms of finding the right word to make the switch not so harsh from informative to persuasive. But sometimes I think it depends on what you're trying to say. Sometimes it's better to have two separate pieces of content to have because if you have to say a lot for every piece of content, it's better to separate it, because you're going to lose your audience halfway through by trying to do two big things at the same time. But otherwise, if it's something quite short, you can very easily do both informative and then add your little promo somehow, somewhere. It's not. I mean, if you look at a lot of blog posts, it's a lot of that. It's informative, and then halfway through, there's, oh, by the way, this very topic that we are talking about, our company provides this. So if you want to have this or have that right away, then so it just depends on. I think you have to have a clear intent. You have to know exactly what you're doing when you're doing it.